Welcome back. P, can you introduce our guests for today?
Absolutely. We've got Ben of the Bitcoin Company, goes by a Bitcoin person on Twitter. He's done a bunch of incredible stuff, has helped to finance and create systems that finance Bitcoin devs so that they can continue to do what they love best and what benefits the network. He's an incredible contributor, and we're excited to have him. We've also got Tony Giorgio, who is a Lightning security expert, has done a bunch of amazing shit, and most recently is working with Paul to build a new Lightning wallet that is designed to not only maximize your privacy, but also to communicate really effectively with users and new users about those trade-offs and make people aware of the trade-offs that they're, taking on when they use Bitcoin specifically over the Lightning Network. Welcome to you both. How's it going? Tony, you there? We cannot hear you, my friend. Please.
Do you also turn your camera on?
Is
'Cause This
classic.
is a live show where we see our pretty faces. What's up, Ben?
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Oh, hey, we lost
Tony's
Tony.
out. Well, hopefully he will be able to rejoin us in the near future. Ben, what did I leave out? Tell the people who you are and why you're fucking awesome.
I think I'm just a normal Bitcoin person. I don't think I'm that awesome. The people who really build all the cool stuff are the other Bens, like Ben Carman, who's my co-founder. He's doing the dirty work all day, doing all the integrations with our service providers and stuff. And then I think you mentioned Paul. Paul is actually Paul and John from Zapright were really influential building out OpenSats, which you alluded to, which is the 501c3 for free and open source funding and contributors to Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna show myself too hard. I'd be happy to talk about how cool Tony is.
Do it. While I wait for him to jump back, give us your best Tony pitch. And then what I'd love you to do is to...
I don't know that Tony's gonna join with a video. I think you guys, you might.
Oh, there he is.
Shit, we got him.
You're
your
still
mic's up.
muted, bro.
The technical trials and tribulations.
He's probably using the what do you call it? The satellite Wi-Fi from.
Good guy. All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get him to jump in. In the meantime, Ben, can you tell us what the Bitcoin Company is and what you're trying to achieve? And before that, I did leave out an extremely important detail, which is that you won pitch day at Bitcoin 2022, which I was super excited about. You got this massive trophy that was like 6 feet tall, and you beat out all the competition. There were a lot of really amazing other companies that were there, and you won. So, well, you won the specific section that you were focused on. So there were multiple, sort of areas.
Ben, before you answer P's question, I want to rephrase it. Give us and the audience the pitch that won pitch day, please.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Hit us with it.
Well, the pitch that won pitch day was like kind of about the bigger vision of the company and where we really want to take it. And so that pitch is more about building a full stack financial services company that treats Bitcoin similar to how a bank treats dollars. So instead of treating you like a crazy person for wanting to invest your money in Bitcoin or wanting to send money on Saturday, we treat you like a normal person, and we enable that. However, where we are today is we've basically built out a loyalty and rewards company, as well as a company that allows you to basically live off your Bitcoin. So a lot of times when I'm just trying to create a comp, it looks a lot like Bitrefill or Pay with Moon or some sort of fold competitor. We let you buy hundreds of gift cards, Uber, Airbnb, hotels.com, Delta. So like you can live off your Bitcoin, and we give, you can buy gift cards for all these companies, and we give you sats back. And so the goal is to really get as many people off zero as possible. And then pretty soon, actually our target launch date is November 1st. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but we want to launch our Bitcoin exchange and our banking services. So really what we're trying to build is an end-to-end solution where you get everything you come to expect from your traditional bank, everything you come to expect to buy, sell, hold Bitcoin, but also just like a bunch of ways to earn free Bitcoin as well. So that's the grand vision. Where we are today is kind of on the loyalty side, gift cards and international Visa cards like Pay with Moon. And then today, Carmen and I are here in Austin working on our latest couple products. So we're about to push out phone top-ups to prepaid providers, about 800 around the world, and card-linked offers, which let you kind of hook up your existing Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and then maybe go shop at, I don't know, Jimmy John's or Burger King, and we just give you like $3 or $4 back in Bitcoin. So we're trying to start building out some just as many freaking ways to give out free Bitcoin as possible. And then eventually, if you want to opt into a Visa debit card that gives you Bitcoin back on every purchase, you'll have that. If you want to do direct deposit, if you want to do top-ups after you swipe your card into Bitcoin, we'll have all these services. So that's the vision, that one pitch day, I guess. That was actually my first time ever publicly pitching, so it was a little nerve-wracking, but yeah, that trophy was ridiculous. It just got delivered here to Austin, so we'll have to put it up in Bitcoin Commons or something.
Oh, you have to. I mean, it's as tall as you are, basically.
Did Mr. Wonderful give you some sort
really
of like quip while you were pitching, like in his classic Shark Tank-esque?
No, I didn't have. I was on the adoption track, and I'm not sure what Mr. Wonderful was, but I did not have the pleasure of creating a competitor to his green Bitcoin company. I would have loved to throw in a jab or two there, but I didn't get that chance. No.
Oh God.
But yeah, I actually, the second place winner got a like limited edition autographed Bitcoin magazine, and we got like a huge trophy, which I have no idea what to do with. I'm a little bit jealous, to be honest.
Wait, P, how did you fuck up the prizes that bad?
It wasn't me, bro. Wasn't me.
Remedy this.
We got rugged on a few things with that. We were told there was a little bit of a Bitcoin prize that never came through.
No shit. All right, we'll follow up after this.
I keep giving. I think it was Harper. I've always given Harper shit. So if he's out there, if he's listening,
you could give Harper shit. That's what his role was designed to do, was to absorb shit so that P could operate at maximum capabilities.
There you go.
It's true. It's true. He did an amazing job. I could not have done the programming for Bitcoin 2022 without Harper. Shout out to Harper. He's fucking incredible. We would stay up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, just madly going through and trying to set up the most awesome programming.
The size and scope of that conference was unreal. I mean, I'm thinking about going through to Bitcoin Amsterdam, but it sounds like you guys are back in Miami next year. That'll be a blast again. I don't know.
Hey Ben, don't think too hard about it. Just let's go to Amsterdam and smoke some weed.
Well, we'll at least be in Amsterdam. I hear there's other legal things as well there.
I just gotta find the real space cakes.
I guess I should clarify that. Damn it.
Well, yes. In case anyone is wondering, Ben is talking about psilocybin mushrooms, and yes, I will also partake. But we need to find like the real space cakes, not like these bullshit like, oh, the tourists, like give the tourists this shit. No, fuck that.
You want to wake up like 72 hours later and be like, what the fuck happened?
I genuinely, if you guys watch Atlanta, they have an episode where they go off and do space cakes in Amsterdam, and it's a fucking trip. I want that. I want to feel as though my life is about to end.
Jesus.
I've been to Amsterdam a few times, and there's actually, if you go like west 2 stops, if you go west 1 stop, I think it's the airport, but 1 more is this little town called Leiden, and it's like a mini Amsterdam, not as many people, not as crowded, and it's really freaking nice. I might end up staying there and training in, but that'll be my game plan, I'm thinking. Amsterdam's just too crowded these days, man.
This fucking guy, too good for us to hang out in Amsterdam.
The trains, I mean, that's one of the great things about Europe is you can travel anywhere in about like 1 minute with a train that like speeds off to another country. So I remember being stuck in Paris one time and all the people were just like terribly mean to me. It was cold and rainy, and I just like hopped on a train and was in Amsterdam in 3 hours and improved my life drastically.
Well, our producer Chris just suggested space cake gift cards for the Bitcoin.
No, that was me.
Oh shit, that was you.
That was me.
I take it back.
Dude, I genuinely think like what's to stop the Bitcoin company from working with because, for example, one thing that I find very interesting is how you guys have this weird loophole with your Visa gift cards. I don't know if this is something that you want to like talk about publicly or not.
Sure.
So can
We're
you
fucking
share?
doing it.
Can you
I'm not
share
sure
with
what
everyone
you're referring to, but
the
happy
fact
to
that if
chat.
I buy my Visa gift card through my VPN to say that I'm outside of the US, I can now use this gift card anywhere in the world, correct? Versus if I buy it while I say I'm in the US, I can only use that gift card now in the US.
Well, we just assume our users are using our platform from wherever they come in from. There's a few stored value laws. Gift cards are broken into two categories: open loop and closed loop. Closed loop cards, that's like Airbnb, Uber, and open loop are like Visa, MasterCard, Amex. Now, FinCEN basically says under certain values, these are unregulated. You fall into like a stored value exemption, which is why you always see in these stores, you'll never be able to buy more than a $2,000 Home Depot card or a $1,000 Visa card. And that's because those are the limits they impose on these cards. Now, what's funny is there's a $10,000 limit a day, but there's a per card limit as well. So you can buy 10 $1,000 cards, but you can't buy a $1,001 card. So, I mean, that's an interesting, weird one. But there's another clause that these cards cannot be reloadable. And that's why these Pay with Moon and ours are single load cards or one-time use cards. Sometimes people use them in that way, but they can't be topped up without extensive KYC because then you fall out of the stored value exemption. And then there's one additional clause that FinCEN, which is the governing body in the United States, has that says these funds can't be used internationally. So if you're a U.S. user, then you cannot have a Visa card that can be used internationally without KYC. I mean, you can KYC and get whatever you want. So all of our users outside of the US, Canada, Amsterdam, wherever you are, you are able to get an international card. And so I was just spending it in Croatia, Dominican Republic. We have users in Mexico, Brazil. People are really starting to use them for like remittances. It's much easier to top up a Visa card and send that to your family than go wait in line at Western Union or TransferWise. And a lot of people are starting to use this as like an alternative to a bank account. And that's been really cool to see. We were not expecting such an adoption of like the international Visa card usage. And given that we're now pushing on a few new markets. So we're trying to get a Euro card. We're trying to get a pound card. I think our next card is actually going to be a rupee, an Indian rupee card. And so we're going to push hard on that use case and try and get as many people living off Bitcoin as possible. Because unfortunately, not that many merchants accept it today, but almost everyone accepts Visa. So when you can top up a card in real time and spend it anywhere, it's basically the same as spending Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
Sorry, that was a long talk.
No, it was fucking fantastic, man. How did you come up with the idea? By the way, unfortunately, Tony Giorgio has just let us know he's having internet issues. He will not be able to join us today, but we will have him back on in the near future to go through the stuff he's doing with PLN. But
Ben, how do you feel having Tony rug pull and making you now our only guest? You now have to fill 90 minutes with us. You only really had the obligation of 45, but now you got 90.
Well, I've got Paul in the other room. We've got some special guests I could bring in.
Oh shit, drag him in here, man. Let's fucking go. They'd have to join over video though, like separately from you. But yeah, man, let's fucking go.
Well, I want to keep going down the gift card rabbit hole for a moment because, as you mentioned, you're not the only company that sort of does this. There's Bit Refill. Like I literally was on Fold last night buying my Domino's gift card to buy Domino's. So what or why is the Bitcoin company different than these companies? Like what is it that your users are coming to you for that's different than these other companies?
So you're right. We're not the first one to do this. It's a business model that was a good start. It lets us, like the economics behind it. There's different ways that gift card or like merchants make money off gift cards. Typically, there's some breakage, which means people don't spend the whole value sometimes. Oftentimes they overspend. It's free marketing. It's like kind of like a brand's logo in your face all the time. And so what they do is they end up giving us a discount and we pass that back on to our users. And so for me, it's like a free marketing engine. Instead of spending VC dollars and just paying my users, free sats that are, we're draining our marketing budget. I can actually like build a business model, give away free sats and not lose money in the process. And so there's tons of companies that do this. I mean, every CVS or Walgreens you go into has been doing this for years. They just typically don't accept Bitcoin. So there's a few companies out there that do accept Bitcoin. I think Coin Corner, I think BitRefill was the original, and Fold are the top ones that come to mind. I might be missing a couple, so I'm sorry. What's been great is they're all been really helpful. The way I'd say we're different, BitRefill, they were the OGs. They've been around the longest. They accept on-chain as well as Lightning, as well as honestly like few shit coins like Dogecoin and other things. But you can spend with a lot of different cryptocurrencies with them. And they probably have the largest catalog out there. Credit to Sergey. I don't know. I don't know how he gets all these brand approvals, or if he's just like running around with 20 different organizations under different names. But a lot of these brands don't want to work with Bitcoin companies. So it's often hard. You know, Amazon's a tough one to get. Apple's a tough one to get. But BitRefill, they're the OGs. They, I think, paved the way for accepting Bitcoin for gift cards. And I think they do have the largest kind of like international portfolio. Paxful is another one that comes to mind. Fold is a little more focused on the Visa card, a reloadable Visa card that earns you Bitcoin back. That's their kind of bread and butter. I think sooner or later they're going to come out with a Bitcoin collateralized credit card, but they also do sell gift cards for Bitcoin. And I think they accept credit and debit card from most of them as well. And then who am I missing? What we do, I guess, we only accept Lightning right now. We're working on a credit and debit card integration. So soon you'll be able to spend with your credit or debit card and earn sats back, which is what a lot of users want to do. And we're actually toying around with the idea of turning on-chain. The reason isn't because it's technically very hard. It's mostly because there's a lot of customer support headaches. But yeah, that's how we differ from the gift card guys. And then Pay with Moon is one of the people kind of paving the way in the prepaid Visa card space. The big differentiator from us and them is that we offer international Visa cards to people outside of the United States, and their Visa cards can only be used in the US, but they've been around for a little bit longer. I think they allow like refunds off the card, so you can claw back your funds, which we're working on. But those would be the main differences. I think there's another company, Coin Debit, that just popped up. And so, yeah, I mean, I can dive in, but credit to all these guys, Will, Sergey, like they've all been so helpful. The second you start touching traditional fiat, you have to start worrying about fraud and risk. And God knows I don't know much about that. And so they've kind of given me a lot of helpful hints and things along the way. So it's been nice to be on like the same team. And I don't know, man, selling gift cards is kind of a hack, but it's really fun to give Bitcoin back to our users. I mean, it's super cool.
That's super interesting. I think in almost any other business environment, you would be just extreme competitors with anyone that was doing a similar style thing. I think it's really interesting that, you know, in the Bitcoin space, you know, the people that you mentioned and most people are actively trying to increase Bitcoin adoption. And so they're more willing to collaborate. I just think that's an unusual and very cool environment to be in.
And I think like everyone's developing their own little niche. Like, you know, Pay with Moon, I think is probably working on cards in other countries, but like, you know, Fold started, I think, as a Bitcoin pizza company and then moved into gift cards. And then they really found their niche with the Visa debit cards. You know, that's a fantastic product. BitRefill, you know, I think they were one of the first to do phone top-ups. So, you know, I also don't really see us as major competitors. Our goal is to like collapse all of these rewards products down into one super app. So no matter what you want, you'll be able to get it with our app. If you want to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, if you want a bank account where you can direct deposit, if you want to buy a gift card or link your cards and earn Bitcoin back, like our goal is to be the one-stop shop. Whereas everyone else is kind of like seemingly hyper focusing on their vertical. And that gets me shit sometimes. We have a big vision, a big plan, but at the end of the day, like I'm kind of got sick of like having a different app for a debit card, a different app for gift cards, a different app for my exchange, and a different app for my bank. I think the way to really, you know, move people towards a Bitcoin standard is to give them all the things they actually, most people kind of need in their day-to-day life from fiat banking, and then just layer in as many Bitcoin things as we can to make the experience much better. Like, God forbid you actually have to send a wire these days. It's like a miserable experience. And I think pretty soon there's going to be enough like neobanks and Bitcoin friendly applications in these hyper localized regions that like you'll be able to, move money and move funds outside the traditional system. But until then, we kind of have to build like alongside it. At least that's our thesis is, my mom, she needs to write a check every once in a while. She gets paid in fiat. Someone like me, I can live off Bitcoin because of these Visa cards, but it's going to be like more of a gradual transition than I think most, Bitcoin maxis want. I would love tomorrow if all the banks were gone and all the payment networks were gone and we're all using Lightning and all the merchants could accept my payments. But the reality is this, like, that's not the case. So we're gonna try and like slowly transition consumers that way. And then there's other companies like Strike and, OpenNode and others that are working on the other side of the equation with merchants. And I think together, we'll bring the consumers, they'll bring the merchants, and eventually we can move towards that like vision of a reality where it's Bitcoin only. But banking it plays a pretty strong role in today's society. I mean, imagine most Bitcoiners have bank accounts and use cards. And so we just want to make sure that no matter how you want to use money or send money, we give you that option.
Can we, I want to separate something because one thing that I think you guys, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, the thing that you guys are really pushing forward and pushing through is Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And, there is a conversation still going on about the difference between a store of value and medium of exchange. I'm curious if you think that there is merit in waiting for Bitcoin itself to be a tried and true store of value before we really go down this lane of medium of exchange. And the only reason I asked this, and it popped up, shout out BTC Sessions, who's in the audience right now. Like his story of he was paid 2 Bitcoin to live off of. And it's like, well, fuck, that was 8-9 years ago. If only you had known what that would be worth now. Or I think it was like maybe 10 or some amount of Bitcoin that, as you look back 5-10 years back, you're like, well, fuck, probably could have just gotten away with using cash. My fear and like why I definitely am at the side of like, I'll buy my gift card through you so you can give me Bitcoin, but living off of my Bitcoin right now feels like I'm just inevitably going to kick myself in 10 years time when I'm like, well, fuck, did I really spend 0.01 Bitcoin at 40K a Bitcoin? So I'm curious your thoughts on that and how you try to hedge that.
I think the opportunity cost of not holding Bitcoin, it's easy to look back and say, damn, I spent Bitcoin at 8K or I spent Bitcoin at 3K or $20. Reality is Bitcoin is the best store of value I think mankind has ever seen. I mean, it has volatility, and that's obviously, not to be taken lightly if you're living day to day off it. But I mean, go look at the chart, zoom out a little bit. It's holding value pretty darn well, and it's increasing in value. And so I think like, if 3 months ago you spent your Bitcoin to acquire something, you look like a really smart trader. You spent Bitcoin at the top, and you got your goods and services for much cheaper in Bitcoin terms than they are today. My good friend Gigi is always the one who's saying is like, anyone that tells you they think they know what the price is going to do in the short term is crazy. I think the only way is to dollar cost average. So like most Bitcoiners, I think, are still probably getting paid in fiat. And I think that's the safest way to expose yourself is just, buy a little bit whenever you have savings. And I think it's like our responsibility to promote, a circular economy. If we want Bitcoin to progress like most money does, from, collectibles to store of value to means of exchange, someone has to exchange it. That being said, I understand that the thesis behind like hodling. I understand like the case behind spend and replace, but I really enjoy like supporting companies, supporting people, supporting artists, trying to show merchants like that people are actually out here spending. So I think there's something to be said, but like if you made that case 3 months ago, you were wrong. one funny story is when we raised money for our company, we raised mostly cash, and then the last two investors asked to give Bitcoin to us. And so we said, sure. We sold we sold equity in our company for 2 Bitcoin, but we sold the fucking top, dude. Like we sold our equity at 60K of Bitcoin, immediately lost a bunch of money. And so, looking back, that was a mistake. But then you have other stories like SuredBits, who raised, I think a couple hundred Bitcoin back in the day, and now they look like geniuses. I think you can point to stories in either direction. My big thing is like when Bitcoin moves, it moves fast. And if you are overexposed to fiat and you're not holding Bitcoin, maybe because you are trying to spend fiat or something, you're going to regret that. I don't think Laszlo to this day probably really regrets buying his Bitcoin pizza. I think it was probably a cool thing for him, and it was the first transaction ever. So it's just the progression of money. If we want it to be real, we have to help make it real. But that doesn't mean I'm not sitting on Bitcoin that I'm saving. I just when I have the option to spend it, I try to.
And just to be clear, when you say you're sitting on Bitcoin, I mean, my understanding was that you lost it in that freak abalone diving accident recently. You and I were deep in we were doing free diving. We were about 100 feet down. Our eardrums had popped. Blood was coming out of my ear because the pressure was too great, and you had your seed phrase just attached to your belt loop like you normally do, just for security to make sure it's always on your person. And an abalone just reached out and grabbed it. They can do that. Not all people know that.
There were the sharks that day were pretty intimidating. It got my mind distracted, and yeah, it's all gone actually. So I guess I'll be using the credit card feature on my app from now on.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
What are the biggest challenges that you have, had to overcome or are currently struggling with when it comes to both starting a Bitcoin company and then specifically within the domain that you're currently operating in?
Sorry, the question was, what are the biggest challenges?
Yeah, like what have been the things that that have caused the most like consternation, or you've had to spend the most energy trying to address or solve? What are the biggest challenges for you?
Hands down, working with fiat. We have Lightning working. We could get on chain working. Bitcoin works like a charm. Carman's always telling me this. Is like he's really only ever built on top of Bitcoin. It just works. But we're we're integrating with Fig right now for card linked offers. We've been working on a checkout.com like debit and credit card integration for 2 months now, and we started to slowly beta test it, but then you have to deal with all these things like fraud and chargebacks. So now we're gonna have to integrate like Sardine or Sif Science or like a bunch of fraud and risk tooling. Eventually we're working to roll out the ability to like send money to our exchange so we can hold dollars for you. We can potentially buy Bitcoin. That means we have to integrate with Plaid. It means we need to get our money transmitter licenses or partner with a bank or trust that will have the ability to do that for us, which means I have to go spend $50,000, $100,000 something on legal and regulatory documents. It's fiat, man. Touching fiat is the fucking worst. But we kind of need to do it in order to bring more people into the Bitcoin fold. At least that's our thesis. There are plenty of Bitcoin only apps, and my mom doesn't use them. So what we're trying to do is actually build that bridge and do it in a way where we don't like sell out like a lot of the fiat companies that are working in Bitcoin or crypto today do. But it's by far the biggest challenge, both from a monetary drain to our partners' APIs not working, to just all the documentation and BS we have to deal with. It's fiat is just a nightmare. And it's different. That's just in the US. Like I was highlighting our US stuff, but the second I want to go do something in Canada or God forbid, Nigeria or Mexico or the EU is a nightmare right now. The UK is even worse. It's a whole different set of legal and regulatory stuff that we have to deal with. So like there is no global solution. Like everyone's like, when cards that work everywhere, and we did the best we could with these like international Visa cards, but like you can't actually launch like a Visa card program in every territory. Visa itself divides into like 5 or 6 different regions, everything with the different licenses, different issuing banks. Like it's just a nightmare, and that's how it still exists. It became a behemoth due to regulatory moat, These banks make it harder and harder to compete with them. They make it more and more expensive. And every time they fuck up, they pay off politicians to add even more regulation. Lightning just works. Bitcoin just works. And it's beautiful to work with. But yeah, fiat sucks, man.
Tell us how you really feel. There was something that you said, and then P, I will let you continue, but I just want to highlight, I love the barometer that you use of, my mom doesn't use these other apps. And I think that's so true, because it's for all of us who are entrenched in this and spend our day to day, in the weeds, understanding what's good, what's bad, which products fit my needs, what products fit my family or my friends' needs. The average person doesn't do that. And lo and behold, your parents and generations above us, sure as shit, ain't going to do anything beyond what we just tell them to do. So I love that. There's an old Colin Cowherd quote where he was like, you're not really famous unless my mom knows who you are without me having to tell her who you are. So
Colin
I digress.
Cowherd, that's the sports guy, right?
Yeah.
That's throwback.
P, I turn it back to you.
No, I mean, I think it was.
Yeah, I'll add, like, I do think we call them, at our company, we call them pre-coiners. We kind of have different categories. There's no coiners. That's like the Peter Schiffs of the world. Maybe even like, well, I'm not going to name any other names, but people who are just like inherently biased against Bitcoin. Then there's pre-coiners. Those are people who either don't know about Bitcoin or who are open to it. That is really our target market. Right now, we started building for Bitcoiners. I'm a Bitcoiner, you're a Bitcoiner. I think you get a lot of use out of our app, but like from a quote unquote, VC fundraising perspective, that market is tiny. Not that many people use Bitcoin, right now, when you compare it to something like the banking system or cash or Visa. And so what we really need to do is convert the 90% of people who are open to Bitcoin, who aren't anti-Bitcoin. And we need to show them that it can be used. It is easier than the traditional financial system. And so that really is who TBC is built for. We do have products built for cypherpunks and built for Bitcoiners. But if we do our job right, it's going to be converting as many of that kind of 90% of the market who just doesn't know yet. We really think they need help. And without us and without Bitcoin and without all these other people kind of building tools that are, far easier nowadays to use than they were in the past, like with command line and stuff, like they're going to be really fucked. And so hopefully we can help as many people kind of opt out as possible. And yeah, there's kind of a meme within the company is build for Sharon. So if she can actually, if it's easy enough for Sharon to use, it's easy enough for just about anybody to use. So that should be.
Who the fuck is Sharon?
Sharon's my mom. Shout out.
Oh, that's I love that so much.
Her username in our app is Hodl Mama. She thinks she started learning this like Bitcoin terminology. She always runs around when I have Bitcoin friends around and tells them she stacks sats and stuff. It's actually kind of funny, but yeah. So we really like, I do a lot of user testing with her. But shout out to all the people actually building like easier ways to use non-custodial things. So because TBC right now is custodial, I think we're going to progress towards a UX friendly non-custodial option. So I think there are some solutions, but like, God, my mom trying to set up a seed phrase, like I can't imagine her etching in 24 words into a seed plate and burying it in the backyard, or like, God forbid, doing a multi-sig. Maybe with like Sparrow or Unchained with some of these solutions that are getting better and better, but we still got a lot of work to do. It's by far easier to use custodial options now. There's other really cool stuff like Fedimint coming out that kind of bridge the gap to second party custody rather than third party custody. But it's we need to close that gap between custodial and non-custodial. I would much prefer to be non-custodial, but I just don't quite think the UX is there yet to bring on everyone who's just come to expect to log into their bank account with a username and password. There are some solutions, like we're looking into a couple, like 2 or 3 like key options. I think MPC opens up some doors. There's this one app that I really like the UX for called Zengo. It's a total shitcoin wallet, so don't use it. but their onboarding experience is really interesting. There's a key on your phone, there's a key in the cloud that's encrypted, and then they hold a key, and it avoids the need for the 24-word seed phrase, which I just think is kind of a non-starter when onboarding on newbies. So hopefully we can keep progressing towards better UX options that allow companies like me who start custodial to move towards a less regulated non-custodial option.
Yeah, I mean, when I onboarded my parents, I explained to them my just rock solid key management strategy, which is I have a multi-sig set up, and a lot of people like to do sort of multi-manufacturer, multi-jurisdictional multi-sig. What I do is I actually I have 3 different animals, one by land, by sea, and by air. So I've actually captured a cheetah, a tiger seal, and then a golden eagle, and I attached each of the seed phrases to them, and then I release them. And my belief is when I've earned my Bitcoin, they will come back to me, and then I'll be able to spend it. But I feel like that's a pretty effective strategy.
These animals have predators. What if someone releases like a whale shark or something and eats your tiger seal, whatever that is?
It's a great question. The power of Bitcoin will actually protect them. It creates a sort of force field around them that makes them impervious to all predatory attacks.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And I've lost all my Bitcoin. I just got an alert. They're dead. They're gone. It's I fucked up. All my Bitcoin's gone.
Yeah, I guess someone made up a good point. You only need 2 of the 3 to stay alive. So that's always another option there.
The golden eagle.
What eats eagles?
The golden eagle and the tiger seal are still in play. The cheetah got taken out by a poacher.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say. I think I don't know what a tiger seal is, but I don't think, does an eagle have any natural predators?
Ben, the mistake you're making right now is you're entertaining this conversation.
Yo, shut up, Q. I got this. Look, golden eagles are the most majestic creatures ever known to man. They build nests. They raise their young. They're the symbol of America. What more do you need to know, my friend?
Why not a honey badger?
Honey badgers do not exist natively in this country. To be honest, neither do cheetahs or tiger seals, but we're going to put that aside for right now because this is a hypothetical situation.
I'm down to import some honey badgers, though, and let them start taking over. That happens all over the place, right? Like that's why
there may or may not have been a conversation around could we import honey badgers to Bitcoin 2022, and I had to put the kibosh on. I had to put the kibosh on it.
It shouldn't be here. Like I'm pretty sure there's a honey badger somewhere in the U.S.
It's true. So
I'm like really bummed Tony's gone. I think he would have a lot to say about.
I know. Me too. I'm
privacy and conversation stuff. He and I had a really good discussion in Nashville about Fedimint and how like a centralized exchange like us could potentially leverage something like that to at least enhance privacy off the platform after our users, withdraw. I want to, I'm bummed out, but it sounds. I think he's coming home to Austin, so I'm excited to see him. I'll take that loss.
Yeah, he basically was like, yeah, I know I said I'd be in a good situation, but I'm driving right now. And we were like, God damn it. But next time, you'll have to come back on when we finally do have him on, and we'll go through it. So I'm actually really curious. Can you go into more of the detail around how Fedimint could potentially integrate with the Bitcoin company?
So, yeah, I don't want to. This is where I really wish Tony or Justin Moon or someone was around. Maybe I'll pull in Carman. But our goal as a company was always to kind of fight for our users. So while we are going to have a custodial exchange, and that necessitates, unfortunately, KYC and a bunch of tooling, because we're going to allow you to move dollars over to your account and buy Bitcoin. So we have to kind of do KYC on the way in. However, we've always, like Carmen and I have always been talking about how do we help our users preserve privacy on the way out? Like, sure, we know P, who works at Bitcoin Magazine, gets his money legally, so he can legally buy Bitcoin from us. But I don't want to know shit about your Bitcoin addresses after that. I don't want to know where you withdrew. I don't want to know what you spent your money on. I don't care. And so we've been talking through. Carman is working on a few tools, including Vortex. He's one of the smartest people in the world and actually understands the cryptography behind coin joins and stuff. So we were always talking about coin joins off the platform, or essentially blinded withdrawals, where even though we will know, these 10 users withdrew off the platform at, on day X during this batch of transactions, we wouldn't actually know which withdrawal address was specifically yours. And so that's like similar to a coin or a collaborative transaction off of the exchange. So, we know these 10 people are part of it. We don't know where the money went after that. And so when a government official tries to give me a subpoena and say, whose address, where did P withdraw to? I say, I don't know. It's one of these 10 addresses, but I'm not going to dox all my users. But it's really not an ideal situation. And so an alternative is something like Fedimint, which it allows you to kind of like peg in. It allows you to send your Bitcoin to a federation, and in return, you get a token that is kind of like anonymized and fungible with anyone else who deposits Bitcoin. A little bit like a casino chip or something in Las Vegas. If you sit down, you put your money on the table, and you get $100 poker chip or $100 craps chip, and it looks just like everyone's around the table. And then you go cash it out at the cashier, and they don't know if you handed this chip, you got this chip from your friend, if you got it from the table. I mean, they probably know because they're watching you. But at the end of the day, you get this anonymized fungible token that you can then later redeem and withdraw Bitcoin from. And so the user flow that we were thinking was, instead of P coming to our exchange and withdrawing 5 Bitcoin, ideally we could do some sort of blinded withdrawal or collaborative transaction, and we would know P is maybe one of these 100 addresses. What we could do is we could actually allow you to withdraw straight to, or deposit or withdraw, I don't know how you would explain it, but we would give you like a Fedimint token. And you would then, at a later time, you could trade it with someone off the platform. You could hold it for years. At any point, you can go back to that federation and withdraw actual Bitcoin. And we, as the exchange, have no idea. Like you could do that 5 seconds. You probably have to avoid some withdrawing the same amount right away to avoid timing analysis. But it would at least let us give you a anonymized version of like Bitcoin, which then you later withdraw to your own personal wallet, or I don't care, some other platform, and we would have no insight whatsoever. So that's something that I think has a lot of promise. There's obviously trade-offs and risks, but I think as a user, if you're already working with a centralized exchange, there's kind of like inherently less trust with, well, I guess about the same amount of trust, but you at least get to pick who it's with. So I do think like you really want to break the connection between any centralized exchanges, and you want to withdraw your Bitcoin and keep it off platform, or else companies like Coinbase and Chainalysis and all these people start popping up and selling your data to the government. If you can break that connection, then you essentially render those Chainalysis companies useless. Hopefully that was a decent explanation.
No, totally made sense. Where do you see Bitcoin adoption going in the United States? I think before you jumped in, I was talking about how, in so many other countries, so many other parts of the world where people have experienced, hyperinflation, have experienced, bail-ins, like in Venezuela, where the government just says like, oh shit, like we're just taking everything above a certain amount from your bank account, and we're just using it to inflate our own coffers. Go fuck yourself. In places like that, they immediately or very quickly kind of grok what Bitcoin is and the opportunity that it provides. Whereas in the US, you have to explain to someone like, well, here's why it's important to, disintermediate this process. Here's why it's important to not have a bank or a government basically arbitrarily placed in between you and the financial transactions that you might want to conduct. What do you think the path for massive Bitcoin adoption in the United States is? I mean, I think the Bitcoin company, what you are doing is obviously a massive part of that, but what about like more broadly? What do you think it's going to take for people to adopt Bitcoin and understand at a significant level or significant amount of the populace what Bitcoin is and why it's important?
Honestly, it's probably going to take a lot of pain, man. I think everyone, a quote I love is, everyone kind of finds Bitcoin when they deserve it. But it's also different for everyone. Like you said, people in Venezuela, Lebanon, hyperinflating countries, it's really easy to understand the value prop of Bitcoin. And oftentimes it's the fact that it's scarce. It cannot be printed. In other places, if you're in China or North Korea, it's probably not the scarcity that matters most to you. Yeah, that's a cool property, but it's the censorship resistance. In the United States, maybe it's the fact that it's borderless. I can send it overseas. Maybe, but like for someone like me, I'm not actually sending remittances home to my family members. For me, but it's kind of like, I hate the banks. It's about kind of financial sovereignty and freedom and opting out. But I also I never want to send a wire again. I actually want to support Bitcoiners. So it's really interesting how Bitcoin is different for everyone. You kind of have to frame it differently. And so I think in the United States, it might just take, all fiat currencies fail. No government has ever shown the ability to stop printing and prevent hyperinflation of fiat currency. It will happen with the US dollar. Yes, we happen to have, one of the more strong currencies in the world, but it's going to happen. We've printed, I don't know the stat, it changes all the time, but it's something like 70 or 80% of all dollars have been printed in the last, 2 years or something. Prices are skyrocketing. I don't care what the inflation numbers say. Everything is so damn expensive, man. I bought a coffee in Nashville for $10.50 the other day. You can't avoid it. And I think,
did it cure cancer?
No, it wasn't even very good. It was from this fucking place. It had a cool hat, but no, it did not cure cancer. It was just expensive ass coffee, and not to mention housing, cars, everything is just so costly. And I think maybe that's just what it's going to take in these kind of first world shielded countries is the financial markets are probably going to collapse. People are going to go from upper class to middle class and middle class to lower class. And they're going to be looking, when the dollar does continue to, deflate or inflate, and when their salaries don't go up, but all of their food and all their goods and services continue to increase in price, people are going to start noticing something's wrong. And I think at that point is when you will start to see people looking for an alternative asset. Now, traditionally, that's been, if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford it, it's been stocks and real estate. But Bitcoin is for everyone. You can buy a tiny bit of it. And so I think lower class, middle class, and upper class will all see it as an opportunity to escape the dollar, to escape a collapsing housing market or a collapsing asset market, and at least find something. Yes, it might be a little volatile. Yes, Bitcoin often sells off in correlation during short-term sell-offs and issues with the market, but long-term it holds its value far better than anything. And I think when you're specifically talking about countries that are quote unquote strong in the international global markets of fiat and forex, it might just take some time, dude. It will come like that. Here we are, Christine Lagarde. The pain is coming, and I'm hoping companies like us can help inform as many people and help people opt out easily. But it's a tougher pitch, man. You don't have to tell someone in Venezuela why they should buy Bitcoin. They know, they've been through it. People in the States are going to need to have very easy options, handed on a platter. I think stuff like what Strike is doing, stuff that makes it spendable and tangible, help. But a max exodus towards Bitcoin, it's just a different pitch in the US, I think. I don't know if that answered your question. I'm kind of ranting.
Rant away, my friend. You are in a safe space to really share how you feel of all these matters. We could keep going down this rabbit hole. It breaks my heart to hear how expensive Nashville has come into, and I just had to quickly cross that off of the list of where I'm going to live in the next 12 months. So
no, I like
that. Get in here.
I was in
Nashville.
Very bougie part of town. So, maybe that plays into it. East Nashville. I really love East Nashville. I was in kind of what felt like the Georgetown of Nashville. This hat, it's got my initials, so I wanted to buy it, but it was $66. It's ridiculous, man. I was at an old an old shop that had all these cards from like, you were born in 1971 or you were born in 1983, and they told the president and they told the price of goods, and like I think in 71, like, or like even 93, like a Nissan Altima was $5,000 brand new. Like, these things aren't normal. The fact that people are comfortable paying $8 a coffee, it's just like, we're all freaking brainwashed. Like, people my age were never born into a world where they even understood hard money, or like, that prices shouldn't just go up in value arbitrarily, and inflation shouldn't have a target of 2%. So I think like people have become accustomed to this and this lifestyle, and it's really sad to see, because there are a few people behind the scenes pulling all the strings, and it's just kind of messed up, man. So unfortunately, I think I'll get back to it. Like it's going to be painful for a lot of people before they realize like they need to find a solution, but it's there. That's like the silver lining is at any point people can opt out.
But will they is the question. I want to know, like, what are the conversations that you're having with businesses around Bitcoin? Are they like, oh my God, thank God you're here. Like, we've been trying to figure out a way to get involved. Or is it like, fuck off. Like, I don't need Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs me. Like, go away. What are you going to give us if we start doing, like, what is that relationship with merchants right now?
It's hit or miss. So we do have a feature on our app where we've started to sell gift cards or event tickets for third-party platforms. And so I've just started kind of warming up the salesman in me, going around talking to merchants, trying to see if we can get them on the platform. So like credit, I think Bitcoin 2023 tickets are in there, Baltic Honey Badger tickets. We're trying to at least start with all the Bitcoin brands who really understand the value prop of a user base like ours with thousands of Bitcoiners on it who want to attend conferences or want to, I'm talking to Parker Lewis later today about hopefully getting their IRA product in our application for rewards. Those are easy sells. Bitcoiners, we all understand it. And there's like an overlap of our user base with people that be interested. Then there's kind of the ancillary merchants, people like KNC Cattle here in Austin, Texas. A fantastic Bitcoiner himself, but also there's this weird overlapping like carnivore kind of meat eating subsect of Bitcoiners. And so again, those kind of people, it's pretty easy. However, I was just down at Royal Blue Grocery getting my coffee, and I gave them the pitch, and they didn't give a shit, man. I think it's going to take like either native, they just don't want to work. Like I don't think it has anything to do with Bitcoin, but it's like me going in there and trying to tell them, switch your point of sale to mine. Like, it's just a huge pain, and it all kind of works right now to a degree. So you really have to highlight either you're bringing users to them, you're bringing some sort of value to them. The thing is, you are. So what most merchants kind of assume and take for granted is that most of their customers are going to pay with Visa or MasterCard or Amex. What happens when you swipe and buy $100 worth of crap at your local store is they walk away with $96, $97 of that, and the rest goes to the banks and it goes to the payment networks. On top of the fact that they are already paying, roughly 2.5% or 3% just to swipe your piece of plastic and take your money, they have to deal with fraud and chargebacks and delayed settlement. So they don't get to see the money right away. Then, I can go buy my crap at their store and tell my bank it wasn't me, and they're the ones that are going to lose the money on that. And sometimes it's friendly fraud, sometimes it's an intentional fraud. Like for companies like mine who sell digital goods online, it's fraught with like kind of scammers. But one of the big things is you don't have money in hand either. So you have delayed settlement. You have to figure out a way to like, provide working capital to your own business before you get paid out. And then you're also losing 3% on every dollar you're accepting. And so there's a built-in pitch there for 3 to 4% of your bottom line. If you can get users to accept Bitcoin or to pay in Bitcoin, that's money straight back into your pocket. We've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gift cards, and it was all for Lightning so far. But had I accepted that same amount of money and my users all paid Visa or MasterCard, I'd have about $20,000 less in money right now. I'd have about probably 1,000 cases of fraud where we just lose gift cards and the users kind of charge it back. And so the pitch is there. I just think like we really need to bring more users into the market. Kind of to your point earlier, like if no one's trying to spend Bitcoin, then no merchants are going to want to accept it, because it's, to be frank, it's not the easiest thing in the world to accept right now. And most merchants, they can't hold Bitcoin. They actually have to convert it to something a little bit less volatile. Usually margins are low. Like imagine being a gas station accepting Bitcoin where you're making 1% on your gas and then Bitcoin falls 4% that day. It's not doable, which is why companies that kind of like IBEX or OpenNode or even Strike, I think, that are making it as easy as possible for a merchant to accept Bitcoin, but kind of hedge their way into a less volatile asset, that's probably the intermediary step. Then there will be companies that go out and partner with payment gateways, payment processors, point of sale systems that make it a one-click integration. And then eventually merchants will start realizing, why am I paying 1% to OpenNode? Why am I paying 1% to Strike? Hopefully, Rockstar and the team can get BTC Pay Server, or Nick Dorian can get BTC Pay Server working, or some of these kind of more sovereign ways to accept payments as easy to use as possible. I think like it's going to be a slow, steady progression, but it is a hard pitch going into really any merchant store and getting them to switch over, which is why we've had success kind of like hacking around it with gift cards or promo codes and stuff. Like these natively integrate with people's existing purchase flows, which is why we were able to turn it on for so many people so fast. We don't really have to pitch them to do anything other than give us a list of 10 gift cards that they'll accept at their store. And so it's kind of easing their way into it. And then maybe we start upselling them on a merchant acceptance business or something. But yeah, it's tough. I think the most scalable way to do it is target the gateways, the payment processors, the point of sale systems if you really want to hit scale. But hopefully more and more merchants opt out, start running their own sovereign hardware. Maybe it's Voltage, maybe it's BTC Pay or whatever. So it's slow and steady. People like Michael Atwood are doing the Lord's work, because it's not an easy pitch.
So a couple things, Ben. We respect and know how hard you work. Can you turn off your fucking Slack messages for 30 more minutes? Yeah. And then Chris, we have actually finally gotten to 100 likes while we are live on air. Could we get a little SATS code, carrot code to give to the audience over on YouTube, please? Thank you, sir.
You're asking P or you're asking P?
No, I was asking Chris, producer.
You can type in love to the TBC app and get 100 sats for free as well. There's a redeem code there. We might be able to spin up something else here after this.
Boom.
Fuck yes, let's go.
You guys just got generational wealth from Ben. Like, everyone needs to slide in his DMs, tell him how grateful they are, and tell him 3 things that they like about him. Everyone has to DM him who's watching.
Just do it to Ben Carman. My DMs are I'm full of Tron scams right now, so it's gonna be hard to sort through all of them.
Dude, these scam accounts are honestly it's gotten so creative now. To a degree.
Like, I was walking down the street and I saw a bag of puppies drowning in a small lake, and I jumped in to save them. And then I had a Tron wallet, and can you help me get my Tron off my wallet so I can buy BTC? It's just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Dude, I mean, that one specifically has been blowing up more than any I've ever seen. It must be working. I imagine that's why I get 10 messages like that a day, but it's really unreal. I'm not that popular, so they must be taking all sorts of people's money with that.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
just students who don't know how to use Tron USDT. Maybe they're all telling it.
I was about to ask, what if
fuck you, and they're just like, please, sir, help me.
Just help
Why
me.
do you hate me?
Guys, I listen to Bitcoin Magazine all the time. I'm trying to do what you tell me. Help. I mean, look, if someone's sending me their fucking key phrase and their wallet number, like, no.
Now, you know how that scam works, though, right? They send you the thing, you log in, you see that there's actually funds there. Ben's literally about to send Tron to somebody. And then in order to move it.
I'm about to get my carrot stats here. Hell yeah.
Oh, fucking get it.
Shit,
do it.
dude,
Live,
Ben's going to beat you
live.
guys. You guys better get that code before Ben gets it.
That was me trying to dab.
Thanks, Flip.
Hell yeah.
He's still running that, right?
Yeah. Shout
Hell
out
yeah.
Carrot Team.
Killing it.
683.
Flip out here.
J8.
Cashing
Lots
checks and
multi-use.
snapping necks.
Let's go.
I just
Sorry,
can't believe
Pete.
you paid $66 for a hat. I'm still reeling.
It's got a Bitcoin person initials. I had to do it. Honestly, I wanted to slap the barista in the face. Like he told me it was $66 and then just walked away because I'm pretty sure he just assumed I wasn't going to buy it. But at that point, I was with Tony. I committed. I walked in to buy a hat, and I had to get it. So, you know, had I done
Tony
it
would have
for-
called you a little bitch if you didn't buy it. You're right.
Yeah,
that's
honestly,
fair. That's
probably
fair.
would have. Honestly, it's felt. It's like it's terrible for the summer, but when you see your initials on a hat, you got to buy it, right? That's the law.
I mean, you're talking to two guys who literally go by a single letter, and I could tell you with a straight face that I own nothing with the letter Q on it.
I have a hat with the letter Q on it.
Yeah, that sounds like a you problem, Q.
I kind of want that hat now.
Someone asked
So
me.
wait,
I was
Ben,
wearing
Ben.
Someone asked me if it was a Quiznos hat, but
That's hot.
I don't actually know. I think it's a brand called Quasi, but I have a weird head. Not many hats fit me, so if I find one of any letters, I buy it usually.
So, quick question for you. You know, Q and I, we do the show together. We've been trying to figure out, like, okay, what is the funniest name that we could call, you know, this segment. So we've got, you know, two guys, one letter, right? Clearly a reference to the documentary film Two Girls, One Cup. Or
Hey,
we could.
I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, you should look it up after the show. Just go check it out. You know, the other option is mind your P's and Q's, or just go fuck yourself.
This is like a play on your guys' names.
Yeah, why not?
This is what P does in his free time.
Yeah.
Me,
What
read
I
the
do,
news.
you're the one who's like, yo, we gotta leverage this fucking brand. Anyway, the point
mean,
is,
look,
A,
did
B,
I-
or C.
Did I call Warner Music and ask them how much for the rights for Mind Your P's and Q's?
Well, that's good. There's a play here. I mean, I'm not sure. We were talking about Amsterdam earlier. There's like the QP. That's a standard weight of measurement in some industries.
Which ones? Which ones?
The Amsterdam ones. I like mind your P's and Q's, but is that
I
a
kind of
play
like a
on-
quarter pounder. Like, there's a lot to do with a quarter pounder. Like, we could go the McDonald's route. We could also go the quarter pound of weed route. Like, QP is on the table. P is just secretly try to get his letter in front of mine. And like
No,
the
I think
only
it's way
place that
better to have
belongs.
Q and then P. It's got to be.
Oh, fuck you.
I like QP. The QP.
Look, man, I went from being the last letter on this name card to having every name before me finally knocked off. If you want first billing on the title card, you're gonna have to take that up with my agent.
This is where you pull out a card and it's just your name. You're like, here's my agent, and it's just Q. All right.
Yes.
You guys, you struggle. Like, there's just so many damn Bens, and we're all fungible. Like, we don't talk about things like this. I don't.
Dude, one of my favorite parts of Bitcoin 2022 was, I think, when you were on stage and there was like a whole contingent of people with like signs in the audience.
Yeah, I might have staged an uprising. It was actually TFTC, and the Bitcoin company booth was handing out "I stand with Ben" signs all afternoon, coordinating, scheduling a coordinated attack. Unfortunately, Skeef got into it and converted a lot of people to fuck the Bens, and so
Those are the signs that I saw.
Yeah, we had a good division there. But you need all good people need an enemy, so. It worked, but mostly we broke up the Matt and Marty show, which was the real important part there.
Well, that was very necessary, but you've now segued me into the question I was going to say for the final 15, but we're going to make it the final 22. P decided to be cool. Wow, the room. Based on the reflection, I can now see your whole setup, and I can see how terrible your setup is. By the way, Ben, I need your power ranking of the top 5 Bens in Bitcoin. Or the
All
Bens
Bens
of
are
Bitcoin.
fungible, man. All Bens are fungible.
Right, but what is your power ranking list?
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble.
That's right.
I'm
That's what we're
trying
here
to,
for.
because if I wanted to not get you in trouble, I would say you have to keep yourself off. But I actually want to see where you rank yourself.
Oh, I'm not on the top. You gotta stay humble, dude.
Oh, you're not.
I also genuinely like. So for the people who don't know, and you probably, if you're listening to this, you probably do. Like, there is a stupid amount of Bens working in Bitcoin, and it's not just like Bens who happen to be fans. It's people like like core developers, people running businesses. Like, it's statistically significant, I think, how many Bens there are that are actively playing like a positive and significant role. So I'll give it to Carman. Carman's the best Ben, hands down. Now, I will caveat, all Bens are created equal. All Bens are fungible. Carman's the best Ben. He's my co-founder. We wouldn't be here without him. So he's the one that's building all these tools, giving you free sats back. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can name a top five. I might have to tweet it out or something. Get back to you later. But there's a few that come to mind that would be in the top, like Ben Woosley. Ben Ark is always building cool shit. He had like a little like pay with lightning. What do you call it? One of those claw grabbers at the Oslo Freedom Forum. Poor Ben Kaufman fell off the wagon. He was a great one, but he's kind of dabbling in some other stuff now. Yeah, I'm not gonna entertain this question. I think this is where I'm gonna censor myself here. I'm not gonna make enemies with my Bens. We have a council to run, man. We got the world.
This is a no censorship zone. No censorship is allowed, either of oneself or.
We had another Ben in the chat earlier, BTC Sessions. He's always.
Yeah, I can't believe that was not a name that you even wanted to discuss. And let it be known to the Council of Bens that you have silenced Ben on our show, and we are coming for you now as a result.
Oh, Jesus. I do not stand behind this message, Q. This is a fight that you are going to have to fight alone. You're going to get crushed by the Bens. There's too many of them. They're too strong.
I welcome
They're
death.
Too powerful.
I welcome death.
Fair enough.
I mean, what we forget to mention was at the conference, the whole reason there was a Ben contingent was because Carman got shooed by Marty. Like, they brought this on themselves. It wasn't just the Bens randomly attacking TFTC. It was the Bens defending Ben's honor. We will, we stand for
I'm defending your honor, man. I'm letting you speak. The Council of Bens is silencing you, so I'm defending.
Well, let me rate someone else. I'm not gonna shit talk my fellow.
All right. No more Ben ranking. Clearly, Ben Price, you're a coward and you won't stir the pot. I get it. I hear you.
Fine.
We see you. What's something that we haven't asked you about? Like, what is something that is taking up a lot of your headspace that you think about as it relates to Bitcoin?
Good question.
And you cannot say the size of your Bitcoin dick. It's not an option.
I wouldn't have said that. That was
you texted it to me, so I mean.
That was private. Man, honestly, what's keeping me up at night is running this business. That's the number one thing. We're a venture funded startup, and that presents all sorts of challenges. That one's tough, and there's a lot of people that not only users around the world, but employees and people that I think rely on either us or the company to make a living. So that's genuinely what I spend most of my time thinking about, is how to push this company forward and bring Bitcoin to as many people as possible. But on a larger level, I've been talking a lot about Lightning privacy and Fedimint with Tony Giorgio. I think where we want to push the needle more than most other companies in the space, and where I feel most passionate about, is privacy, even if you are running a centralized company. So trying to come up with interesting ways to either provide certain product lines that have lower KYC thresholds than something like a full centralized exchange, or ways to at least tangibly improve on the current model, like we were talking about, maybe Fedimint, maybe collaborative transactions off a platform. That's been a lot of my time. Generally in the space, though, I think I don't know, man. It's hard. Like I used to do so much more reading. Lately, I've been trying to kind of expand my horizons in a little bit. Like I'm reading a book about the design of everyday things. I'm going back and reading more about the Fed as opposed to like spending all my time reading about like technical Bitcoin concepts. And so I think like trying to become a more well-rounded Bitcoiner and polymath is really important. Some of my like Gigi's one of my favorite people to listen to or talk to because he can talk everything from space travel to time bending to actual physics and chemistry to mathematics to cryptography. And Bitcoin is like an amalgamation of all these game theory, economics, psychology. It's like a mix of all these things. You can't just be a good coder and be a great Bitcoiner. You can probably be a good core dev, but you're not going to like understand the implications and the theses behind or the thesis behind Bitcoin to its fullest potential. And so I think like becoming a better, more well-rounded person has kind of been at the top of my book. But even that gets put aside when there's like fires starting up every minute left and right with users. At the end of the day, we're running a company, and anytime a user has a bad experience, like it kind of personally hurts me. So we gotta try and clean that up, and then maybe I can go read my books again. I don't know. That's a tough question. I wish I was here with Carmen. He's got a lot of insights into like the actual technical happenings of Bitcoin and things that are staying up to date. I would say on the technical side though, thinking about Fedimint and lightning privacy have been what I've spent most of my time talking about. And that's because I've spent a lot of time around like Tony lately.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Do you worry about anything going on in normie land as it would impact Bitcoin at all?
Man, I one of the best decisions I ever made in my life was to really stop worrying about normie land. I think like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe that's an exaggeration, maybe it was 3 or something. I just stopped watching the news. I stopped listening to what mainstream thing was falling apart and on fire these days. It really just focused on either working or spending time with my friends or just like it became so clear when I found Bitcoin that like everything has an agenda in normie land. And no, I'm really not too worried about it. I think other than the standard things like how we can get Bitcoin into as many hands of these people who really, really desperately need it, that worries me a little bit. If we're talking like attacks on Bitcoin or threats to Bitcoin, I don't really think so. I think the best thing that anti-Bitcoin government could do is maybe slow it down. But it's unstoppable at this point. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand some of these like intricate attack vectors, but I don't think it can be stopped. I think the cat's out of the bag. Governments can the best way to stop it would be to stop printing money. They're not going to do that. Like that's off the table. Bitcoin probably wouldn't have been invented if governments actually responsibly, or like we stayed on the gold standard, or people responsibly like who are in charge of the central banks like didn't just print add like to infinity. But the reality is they will. The motivations and incentive model is to print more, and so there's always that. I think the best thing they could do is slow it down, and that worries me a little bit because I would really like to see this happen in my lifetime and happen as fast as possible and say that I helped and was a part of it. But long term, zoom out enough, I think the game's over. There's like these long pauses after I talk every time.
No. I'm thinking deeply about it. That's you and I have hung out a number of times, but I've never engaged you in like a super long form conversation. And I'm just like, damn, Ben has some good shit to say.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I think there's just I've been lucky enough to find Bitcoin. I was definitely lost before this. I knew something was broken with the world. I kind of was into economics and game theory Microeconomics always made sense. Macro was just ridiculous. And so finding Bitcoin was not only like a figuring out what at the core is kind of like wrong with the world. It introduced me to the fact that like I shift my focus, understanding that I think money is the core of all these problems. Like the world revolves around money. People work their entire lives to make money, to hopefully retire one day. Yeah, there's love and other things, but like money's very, very important. And at the core, money is broken. It's the one thing that holds us all together. It's universal, and it's rotten in every fucking country. And all of a sudden, there's this solution to this problem that we didn't think we had an answer to. And this problem that we didn't think we had an answer to is generating just so many second, third, fourth, fifth order layers of like issues with the world, whether it's politics or, I don't know, racism, you name it. Like, you know, everything I think to a degree is a symptom of the rotten money, the fact that it pays to be closer to the money spigot, and it pays to keep people out of competition with you with regulation. And Bitcoin fixes that core. It doesn't fix all problems, but it at least allows you to work on something that fixes like the root of all evil. Like if you can layer over, you can paper over the issues with the world. Like I could start the world's biggest charity and feed as many people in the world as I wanted, but the world would still be rotten at its core if we were revolving around fiat money. Instead, we have a bunch of people now that kind of saw that, and we're working on actually healing ourselves from the inside out. And if we can save that core, then things will slowly start kind of emanating outwards, I think, and we'll slowly start to see these like symptoms that have become everyday, you know, lifestyle that we've come to expect, like become better and better and better every day. And I don't know that I'm much of an optimist, but at least there's something we can all point to. There's something to work on that actually helps everyone in the world. Like before Bitcoin, there wasn't that. Like I said, you could feed as many homeless people as you want, but they're going to keep popping up left and right because the whole system is built to incentivize that. Like, yeah, I really owe a lot to Bitcoin. I don't even know what the question was, but that's something that I realize is like it's one thing we can all work on, that even if it's a tiny bit, it helps every single person on this planet, rather than, you know, maybe you do your job and you know, fix cars, and that's awesome. That really is a noble profession. But like, I was really hoping to do something more with my life, and finding Bitcoin and coming to that realization that like this is the one thing that I think can tangibly make like a large scale difference. It meant a lot to me.
How did you get into Bitcoin initially? What's the story there?
Oh man, I was always very mathematical, I guess, as a kid. Really loved psychology, but I was always really good at math. And so when I got to college, I didn't really want to study math. I was sick of it. I didn't really want to study psychology because everyone studies psychology. And so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always kind of knew that. My mom started a company, and I saw like kind of how cool that was. But my like real passion was math and econ, and the blend of that, I thought, like kind of this polymath combination of everything was economics. It was psychology, it was mathematics, it was game theory. And so I really went down like the game theory rabbit hole at college. Go Tar Heels. That was my school in North Carolina. And so going down, you know, I learned microeconomics, which I wasn't taught this in high school. So I learned micro, really interesting, thought it made sense, you know, individual people making choices based on what they prefer. And then learned macro. And again, it just made no fucking sense that, you know, some guy was pulling all the levers and magically fixing things. Started finding game theory, which was really even a more like technical version of econ. So I think like my passion for econ was always there. But shit, man, I'm trying to remember the first touch point. Like I never heard about Bitcoin in college, I don't think. I think it was probably at I moved to DC eventually, and I had one graphic designer on my team that I was working with who I think was into like, I don't know if it was Doge or what. I don't want to name a bunch of shit coins here because they're all shit. But it was something. It wasn't Bitcoin, and eventually, I was a big reader, and I think I eventually read the white paper, and like it almost clicked, but didn't quite click, and then started going down the rabbit hole. Luckily, found TFTC and Stefan Livera pretty early on, and they helped steer me towards the kind of like the logic behind Bitcoin only, and then really it was weird. My progression started completely as like podcasts. And the more and more that I'm in the space, the less and less I listen to podcasts. And the more I do like reading on ancillary subjects outside the space. But man, holy shit, did I listen to like so much audio content those first couple of years. So a lot of credit to Ramsey for telling me about, I guess it was cryptocurrencies, but Stefan and TFTC set me on the right path. And so it's not to say I didn't have some painful experiences, but at least I saw the light pretty early on. And once I figured out Bitcoin only was the only way, and then started understanding more about proof of work and proof of stake, and like, luckily enough, I'm technical enough to understand these concepts, and Bitcoin's the only way. So I guess that was a terrible way to explain my Bitcoin journey, but it was always kind of meant to be there. I think with the econ deep inside me, with like, I guess, the psychology blend, but came to it from that side of things.
I just wanted on record that Ben's inability to answer this question further validates the potential that he is in fact Satoshi Nakamoto. That is all.
No, there's a new theory. The new theory is Ben Carman is like 45 years old. Actually, he's not.
Oh.
People think, and that he is in fact Satoshi Nakamoto, and it became my new favorite theory because I think I live with him, and I think it's perfectly plausible. Why not? He's certainly smart enough. But
you do know that P is like 106 years old, right?
Apparently, I'm a Highlander. I'm like 2 years. I'm like 2 years older than Q and Chris, which makes me like
more than 2 years
an
older than
old
us.
Ass man.
You are literally on the other side of 30.
That is true. That is true. Fair enough.
He did. Dude, things that P remembers as a not young man include Chernobyl's explosion.
The invention of hot dogs. I mean, who wasn't alive when hot dogs were invented?
The tearing down of the Berlin Wall. The moon landing.
Yep,
and
100%.
Titanic sinking.
Yeah,
like
all
these happened when P
Come
was
on, man. Anyone over the age of 30 remembers these things like it was yesterday. Come on. I don't know why you're bringing these things up.
Ben, I want to now ask you a couple of questions because we talked about it a little at the beginning. We're going to talk about it a little bit now at the end. You've already told us you think Amsterdam's too crowded, that you're going to do space cakes with me. But what is like your favorite thing to do in Amsterdam?
Oh man, smoke pot. Like,
fuck yes, my guy.
My guy. So the first time I ever went to Amsterdam, I was in college, and it was before like pot was legal, and so like the whole point of going was to smoke pot. It's a wonder drug. It's fun. I remember going there, and we were smoking what they called American joints, which are just 100% weed. They're not mixed with tobacco, and they thought we were fucking crazy.
I love a good spliff. Oh, I can't wait for Amsterdam now. Man.
I think honestly, like biking around, and hopefully like the whole point, I think, for me, if I'm in somewhere like Amsterdam, is I'm on vacation. So my favorite thing to do if I do end up going to Bitcoin 20 whatever in Amsterdam is going to be hanging out with Bitcoiners, probably biking around, eating some fries with like weird shit on it. Like, I don't know, they have fries everywhere in Amsterdam.
Fuck with that. Fries,
but also like
space cakes.
Depends who's there. I'm very like careful like about where I do kind of experiment with psychedelics, but that could be interesting. I think Psilocybin is a really interesting drug in the sense that it at least for me personally, uh, puts me into a state of mind that allows me to like think in a way I would otherwise never be capable of thinking about. So I've had the biggest, the biggest like kind of life changing experience of my life was the first time I took mushrooms, and it was when I was struggling with really, really caring about what a lot of other people, things were out of my control. I was getting upset about, and I'm not sure how well you guys know me now, but I try and keep like a pretty level head. But at that, like mushrooms allowed me to completely change my perception of how I viewed what other people thought of me, or it let me be at peace with things that were out of my control, and it like freed up my mind in a way that changed my life entirely. And so, yeah, given that it's legal there, and there's a lot of great Bitcoiners that'll probably be there. Maybe that's a fun little experience we could try. But I got work to do, guys. Like, I can't be doing shrooms and smoking pot all day. I can't. I'm not.
We're doing it in business meetings, Ben. It counts. It counts as business.
You are not allowed to take shrooms while we're on the live desk. Or at least microdoses.
Fun fact,
maybe.
I took shrooms on our 420 stream. I literally ate shrooms and streamed on 420.
All right, fair enough. You're a better man than me.
I just can't do that, man. You don't. I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I don't recover like I used to.
Hey, man, I'm on my last year of my 20s. Let me ride this fucking wave out with a bang, a glorious, glorious bang. I just love imagining you like
projectile vomiting all over the live desk, like in real time, like turning to Michael Saylor and being like, "So what do you?" Blah! And it's just like going everywhere. I'm here for it.
I will say though, I don't love super crowded cities. Don't love tourist traps, which is why I did recommend Leiden or Leiden to everyone. It was somewhere I went backpacking a few years ago. It's got like all the benefits of Amsterdam. It's got all the canals. You can still be near water and sit near cafes and stuff. But it's like it's a smaller college town, much quieter. There's not a ton of tourists. So that's probably where I'll be, man. Like, shoot, I'm gonna soft fork and see if we can get anybody over to Leiden or Leiden.
Well, my friends, on that note, we have made it. We're 90 minutes in. This has been incredible. Ben, I can't tell you how much I appreciate.
I just double the amount I was expecting. That was a lot.
No, you fucking killed it. When I asked you to join the show recently, you were like, "Yeah, as long as I'm on with another person, like, so I don't have to do all the talking." And you fucking killed it, man. This was amazing.
Yeah, I saw it pop up on my calendar, and I was just like, "Oh shit, I forgot I said I would do this." And
I got you.
Here we are.
So you were a little tipsy.
Maybe. Tony left me hanging here. I'm gonna have to give him some shit for that.
Yeah,
so. Please do. But
I think we didn't have any too bad awkward silences.
No, it was fucking great. You seem to think that your rants were bad. They were great. Q, take us away.
I appreciate it.
Ben, where can everyone stay up to date with you and everything going on with the Council of Bens and the Bitcoin Company?
Carmen and I actually just recorded our first pod ever in Nashville, where we talked a lot about the Council of Bens, and Tony was our first guest. I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day. It's a little risque, but if that ever comes out, that's probably the most info on the Council of Bens you'll ever get to hear. As far as where can you keep up with me, keep track of the Bitcoin Company, thebitcoincompany.com. We're on the App Store, Apple App Store and Android Store. Honestly, it's a great way to earn Bitcoin, and we got a ton of shit coming soon. Support your open source developers. OpenSats is a great way to do that. That's OpenSat, like Satoshi's. .org. You can donate to a variety of projects, and I think we're actually going to start listing a few of those projects in the TBC app. And yeah, I'm a Bitcoin person on Twitter, and I'm still at the phase where I can shit post and get away with it for a little bit. So it's like a nice healthy side habit I have. So
guys, make sure you follow Ben. Make sure you follow the Bitcoin Company. Make sure you buy your tickets to Bitcoin Amsterdam. Do not leave just yet. Ansel is joining us, and we have a new episode of Fed Watch coming up with special guests. You're not going to want to miss who these special guests are. Huge surprise. I can't even do that with a straight face. Cut to commercial. We'll be back.
See you guys.
Peace.